Got a question about the law? Well, now's your chance, North Texas. Get ready to Ask the Lawyer.
Well, good Wednesday afternoon to you, and welcome to Ask the Lawyer. I'm your host, Brenda Teal. Here to answer your bankruptcy questions today is attorney Viviana. Just call the number that you see on your screen. It's 877-941-2299. Different number for you today. Again, it's 877-941-2299. Or email your question to billsmustgo@gmail.com. billsmustgo@gmail.com. All right, phone lines are open right now. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me again on your show.
Always good to see you, Viviana.
I really enjoy you.
All right, we've got a lot of questions for you today. A lot of folks are going through this right now, especially at the end of the year. Phone lines are open, so let's get things started. Meg in Dallas is holding with a question about bankruptcy. Go ahead, Meg.
I'm the lien holder on some property that I sold a gentleman on December the 3rd. He filed for Chapter 13 on August. I need to know if I can bring my property out of bankruptcy court, and what do I need to do?
Okay, good question to start us off.
Yes, you are a creditor in this bankruptcy, and you have a lot of options. The trustee in charge of this Chapter 13 case is going to make sure that you continue getting your regular monthly payments, especially if it's real estate. If the payments are not forthcoming, then you have options to ask the judge to lift the automatic stay and recover your property. So yes, you have a lot of options in Chapter 13. Consult a bankruptcy attorney.
Okay, 877-941-2299 is the number to call today. Up next, Fred in Fort Worth has a question about collections and Social Security. Hi, Fred.
I'm retired, drawing Social Security now, and I keep getting phone calls from these bill collectors and what have you, and they're threatening to take money out of my Social Security check. I was just wondering, can they attach my Social Security check?
Wow, another great question.
Oh, wow. Greg, you need to take the name down of that creditor and the company, and any consumer attorney in the area would gladly take your case, because this violates the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. No, they cannot take your Social Security. They cannot garnish it. No way.
Yeah.
So yes, consult with somebody, take the names, and you can even call me and we'll go after those people.
That's very concerning for this gentleman to wonder whether or not his Social Security, because it's just enough to get by as it is, and to have that affected.
Now these a creditor, this particular creditor or creditors are very aggressive. They're willing to step over the law to try to get you to start making payments. And no, they cannot take any money from a bank account, even if they do get a judgment against you. They cannot take any money from a bank account that contains your Social Security benefits, even your savings accounts, if it's contains your Social Security benefits. So no, nobody can take no creditor can take your Social Security benefits, except the IRS. That's the only exception.
Yes, yes, they can do whatever they want to do.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
They do.
All right, the phone lines are open right now. If you're not able to get through, please continue to try. Right now, we have an email question from Mark in Saginaw. He says, I am more than $15,000 in debt and am seriously considering filing for bankruptcy. How do I determine which type of bankruptcy to file?
Well, you don't make that determination for yourself. Greg, you talk to and consult with a bankruptcy attorney, and your first consultation is always without charge. Take the time to go. They'll spend about 25-30 minutes with you. They will also explore other options. $15,000 to a bankruptcy attorney is not really a big amount of debt, and sometimes you can do workouts. But we will tell you whether or not we would suggest a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13 for you. It just depends on your income and what you really desire to do. If you want to repay them slowly, we'll put you in a Chapter 13 and you feel better about it. We could pay the whole $15,000 without any interest over 5 years, so 60 months. So do the math. And so it'll be affordable payments. If you are in a fixed income, then we would usually suggest do a Chapter 7, but always consult your bankruptcy attorney.
All right, email questions to billsmustgo@gmail.com. We have an email question right now, this one from Crystal in Arlington. If I'm being sued by a creditor, is it too late to file for bankruptcy?
Actually, no. You can actually file for bankruptcy anytime during this whole process. They'll be asking you questions, they'll do interrogatories, they'll want you to produce bank statements while the lawsuit is going on, but a bankruptcy will stop it. And even if they get a judgment against you, or even if you have an old judgment of about 10 years, a bankruptcy will get rid of it, actually, or allow you to handle it through a Chapter 13.
All right, Ray is on the phone right now from Mansfield. What's your question, Ray?
My question is, my taxes are behind on my house, and I was wondering if I could file the bankruptcy to clear my taxes up. Thank you.
All right, sure.
That's a very good question, and many have this issue with their property. And yes, the Chapter 13 bankruptcy would assist you in catching up with the payments while preventing the taxing entity from coming after and imposing a lien or foreclosing on a tax lien on your property. So yes, you can get some time to pay off those back taxes. And I have seen where the taxes on a particular property is, $15,000, and the taxing entity has, for some reason, not gone into to foreclose on the lien, and we have been able to save the property from the taxing entity and giving you time, the 60 months, to catch up.
Will sometimes the taxing entity forgive the P&I in a situation like that?
No. Mm-hmm. The taxes, they're called ad valorem taxes, and these run with the dirt. So if you have dirt out there with a home on it or trailer or whatever, you're going to be taxed on it, and the interest rate under a Chapter 13 will be stripped down from what they actually charge. So we strip them down to whatever the rate is. It is, I think, 4.75. It's prime plus 2 points. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, we can strip down the interest.
All right. We do have time for one more email question before we take a break. This one from Susie in Fort Worth. She says, I have filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, but can't make the payments. Can I now file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy?
Yes. I cannot give you any kind of legal advice because I don't know your case, but I would suggest strongly go talk to your bankruptcy attorney, because these are treated special, where you can theoretically convert to a Chapter 7, but then it's based on, what your income was at the day of filing. There's too many ifs, ands, and buts, so talk to your bankruptcy attorney about that.
I want to ask you about this American Airlines situation with them just filing for bankruptcy. Can we do that after the break?
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back and take more of your phone calls. The number to call is 877-941-2299. You're watching Ask the Lawyer. Well, good afternoon and welcome back to Ask the Lawyer. I'm your host, Brenda Teal. Here to answer your bankruptcy questions today is attorney Viviana Cavada. You say Cavada, I say Cavada. Just call the number that you see on your screen, 877-941-2299, or email your question to billsmustgo@gmail.com. If it was only that easy, just to say, okay, Bill, you got to go. But Viviana has the answer to those questions. Before the break, I was asking you about American Airlines situation. They recently filed for bankruptcy. Tell us how that works for a company like that.
Well, it works the same for the bankruptcy laws work the same for American Airlines as it does for you and your business. So you need to know that it's no respecter of persons. Everybody gets treated the same. American Airlines or, your hot dog stand or, whatever business that you're in, they are reorganizing under a Chapter 11 because they've got a lot of debt and they want to stay in business. And that's what I tell the small business owner. You too can file, especially if you're an entity like a corporation, you too can file for relief under Chapter 11 to reorganize your debt and restructure it so that you can stay in business, you can pay your employees, you can continue to do business and recover. And the courts are the laws are structured for you to recover and stay in business.
A lot of people wonder how this happens for the Donald Trumps of the world and these major corporations. Well, they can file for bankruptcy and come right back strong, but the individual is very uncomfortable with that word bankruptcy.
And that's why I love talking about American Airlines and Donald Trump bankruptcies, because they have actually restructured and gotten back into business. They're back into making money, but they're being protected from aggressive creditors who want to just go in there and grab the particular airplane that they've got to lean on, or computer equipment. So this is a way to stop all of that activity and structure it. And the creditors will always be part of it. You know, they'll be part of the plan. So you as a small business owner, you don't have to necessarily do a Chapter 11, but you can be in a Chapter 13, which is more, it's for a human being. Chapter 11s are for entities like corporations, so they cannot do Chapter 13s, but you can.
All right. 877-941-2299 is the number to call. The phone lines are open right now. Dinah from Irving has a question about Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
If you want to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy to get rid of large credit card debt, can you do that if you own a home and you don't wish to include the home in the bankruptcy?
Okay, thank you.
If you live in Texas, your home is absolutely protected from any creditor, including in bankruptcy. So yes, your home is protected, your personal property is protected, your cars are protected, your living room furniture is protected, your retirement funds are protected. Yes, you definitely can do a Chapter 7, but remember, that decision is going to be left up to your bankruptcy attorney. And so there's some certain criteria that we look at. One of them is income. So you want to leave that decision up to the bankruptcy attorney. Consult with one. They'll give you free consultation.
All right, up next, Marlisa from Keller is on the line. What's your question?
Yes, my question is, how long do you have to live in the state of Texas before you can file bankruptcy in the state?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marlisa.
Boy, that's an easy one. 180 days, 6 months.
Okay.
And that's about it.
All right. All right. If you have a bankruptcy question, give us a call. The number right there on your screen, 877-941-2299. If you don't get through right away, please continue to try. We now have another email question, this one from Carly in North Richland Hills. We're considering filing for bankruptcy, but we still have to use our credit cards for day-to-day necessities. Is there a time limit as to when new debt is not eligible for bankruptcy?
Yes, there is, except not in Chapter 13. In Chapter 13, we include all the debt, including all the debt incurred up to the day of filing. And so in Chapter 7, though, that's a different criteria. And yes, there are some guidelines on what debt can be discharged, but I have always worked this out with the creditor, especially if we have to do a Chapter 7 because of income that is not coming in. So sometimes I will recommend a 7 and call the creditor and say, we know that we spent $500 on this TV at Conn's or one of these places, and so we want to make it right to the creditor, and we do that outside of bankruptcy.
All right, 1-877-941-2299. Tina from Garland has a question about bankruptcy for Viviana. Now, go ahead.
I was wanting to know if in a bankruptcy, can you add a back payment on an apartment complex?
That's a very good question, and yes, in a Chapter 13, we put in payments that are behind, but we need to catch up within a certain period of time. So you have to ask the bankruptcy attorney, and yes, even landlords have a requirement not to try to continue to collect on a debt. I have stopped evictions to give the debtor some time to catch up, and usually it's about 3 months or less. So yes, you can include that, but you have to stay current from the time that you file.
I see.
Forward. So we can't just keep on getting behind while we're in bankruptcy.
It's not a catch-all.
No, it's not a catch-all, and we do have a time limitation, so ask your bankruptcy attorney, and he will, or she, will give you some guidelines on how to handle that landlord.
All right, we do have time for one more email question before we take a break. This one from Helen in Duncanville. She says, my husband and I are 4 months behind on our mortgage. If we file for bankruptcy, could we save our home?
Well, the question that you said save depends on whether or not you can actually continue to make the payments forward, but you're having a hard time catching up with the 4 months. The mortgage companies are demanding that you pay that whole 4 months or they will foreclose. The bankruptcy will stop it. Now, the kind of bankruptcy I'm talking about is a Chapter 13. We're not talking about a Chapter 7. And you don't qualify for a Chapter 11 because that's for if you have debt over $1 million. So we don't discuss Chapter 11 for consumers. But so you'll have the 4 months back payments in a plan, but you have to keep going forward. So yes, as a bankruptcy attorney, I would analyze what your income stream is, what other debts we can set aside and pay maybe a reduced amount. That's usually credit card debt. We'll look at the vehicle. How much are you paying? We can strip down the interest payments for vehicles. Instead of paying the 11, 12% interest for a vehicle, we strip it down to about 4.5 or 4.75 and save you some money there so you can make the payments going forward to the mortgage company.
Viviana, a lot of people nowadays are just walking away from their home altogether. How would you advise them?
Go see a bankruptcy attorney first before you walk away. There's a way to salvage your home, especially if you have an income stream. We can look at what debt, where you're spending all your money. If you're spending it on credit card debt, we make that money available for your mortgage and pay a reduced amount to your credit cards and ultimately discharge them at a reduced amount of rate just to save your house. But take the time to visit a bankruptcy attorney.
So you're saying I may not be able to get my hair done once a week anymore?
I don't know, for you, Brenda, you might need to get your hair.
We'll be right back after this break. You're watching Ask the Lawyer. Welcome back to Ask the Lawyer. I'm your host, Brenda Teal, here to answer your bankruptcy questions today is attorney Viviana Cavada. Just call the number that you see on your screen, 877-941-2299, or email your question to billsmustgo@gmail.com. Phone lines are open right now. Again, 877-941-2299. We do have a caller holding right now. What's your question?
I am calling in reference to filing an bankruptcy. My question is, can I file bankruptcy and don't have to pay anything and my record is wiped clean?
All right. Thank you, Alice.
I hope I phrased this right.
Yeah, you're fine. Thank you, Alice.
Oh, Alice. That's a question for the initial interview that you have with your bankruptcy attorney. We actually draw down your credit report from all 3 credit reporting bureaus, and we look at the kind of debt that's there. If it's a secured debt, that is, a creditor has a lien on a personal property like a vehicle or a home or your washer and dryer, it's very important for us to determine which ones of that debt is secured. If you do a Chapter 7, then we have to do workouts with those secured creditors. Those debts don't go away, and they can come and get the car, they can come and get the house by asking permission from the bankruptcy court to foreclose on it if you are behind. So it's very tricky as far as a Chapter 7 and determining what debts are discharged. But yes, we can tell you that most, if not all, of your credit card debt will be, we call it, discharged, and your credit report would be wiped clean from this debt. It will not show up on your credit report. So it's tricky. We may want you to do a Chapter 13 if you have a car that you need to continue paying, and we would want to strip down the interest rate, because if you're in trouble, then you're probably paying a very high interest on that vehicle, and then it gives you an opportunity to pay some, maybe if not all, on that credit card debt. You feel better.
Yeah. All right, Alice, I hope that answers your question. We have another caller right now. Marie from Euless is holding. What's your question, Marie?
I'm calling to check and see if I can to do a bankruptcy.
to completely wipe away. I mean, because I have a house that's still in my name and is still in my name, so I'm trying to find what's the best kind of bankruptcy, 7 or 11.
Okay.
That's my question.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you asked that question because many people don't know what the difference is between a Chapter 7, Chapter 13, Chapter 11, and some people even add in chapters in there when they're discussing it with me. But no, a Chapter 11 is for an entity. If you are a business, and you've gotten in trouble, then we can put the business only into a Chapter 11. Also, if the debt is over $1 million or so, as an individual, we'll put you in a Chapter 11. A Chapter 13 is restricted to if you have $1 million less or down, then we can qualify you for a Chapter 13, but you have to have a belly button. You have to be a human being to do a Chapter 13. And a Chapter 7 is available to either entity or an individual, a human being, so to speak.
All right, so just don't make up chapters, that's all. Chapter 33, Chapter 59. We're going to take a quick break and come right back and answer more of your questions. You're watching Ask the Lawyer. Welcome back to Ask the Lawyer. We want to thank you for joining us today. Again, the phone lines will stay open even after we are off the air. If you have another question for Viviana, that number is 877-941-2299, or you may always email her too. The email is billsmustgo@gmail.com. No time for any more questions today, but you also do wills at your practice. Who needs a will?
Everybody needs a will. If you're a human being, if you have a job and you own a car, and maybe you don't even own a house, you need a will.
Everybody, if you have a job, you need a will. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you back here again tomorrow. Have a great day.